If you're finding that one person can completely change how you think and act at work, this is why. You're in a meeting, you've prepared your points, you're clear, focused, and then they speak. They interrupt, they dismiss your idea, or they use that tone, the one that immediately shifts something inside you. You feel it. Your body tightens, your thinking narrows, and in that moment, you either react or you go quiet. And later, you replay the whole thing thinking, I could have handled that better. This isn't just about difficult colleagues, it's about what happens to your thinking when pressure shows up. And that's something that you can train. At Inner Advantage, we look at situations like this differently. Difficult colleagues aren't just a problem in themselves. Their conduct creates a challenging environment that you need to navigate. And your advantage in this challenging environment comes down to one thing. Can you stay calm, clear and effective, even when pressure is present? Because most people don't lose performance because they lack skill, they lose it because their thinking becomes reactive. So in this video, we'll break it down into 4 parts. Why difficult people affect you more than you think, how to stay calm in the moment, how to respond in a way that actually improves the situation, and how to look after your mental well-being following an interaction with a difficult colleague. Let's start with what's really going on. When someone challenges you, interrupts you, or behaves unpredictably, your brain reads this as a social threat, not as physical danger, but a threat to your status, your control, or respect. And when that happens, 3 things change instantly. Your attention narrows, your emotions intensify, and your thinking becomes defensive. At this point, you stop choosing your response. Instead, you react. This is why you might snap back at your colleague, go quiet, begin to over-explain or say nothing, and regret it later. The goal here is not to win the interaction, but to regulate yourself first, because this will help you to think clearly and better navigate the situation. So next, let's take a look at the importance of staying calm in the moment, because this is where most people go wrong. As a new manager, you're under pressure. Other colleagues are watching and waiting to see how you respond. It is tempting to try to get control of the situation by trying to control the other person, but at this early stage of a difficult moment, your first job is to control your own feelings. A difficult moment like this, particularly in front of an audience, can be annoying, frustrating, or upsetting. And experiencing these feelings is quite understandable. However, operating within these emotions, it's unlikely that you'll be thinking clearly, and therefore, it's unlikely you'll be responding calmly. So here's a simple Inner Advantage tool that helps you to stabilise your internal state and regain a sense of control. It's called the Presence Anchor. When you feel triggered, pause. First, bring attention to your breath. Next, feel your body. You can feel your feet connecting with the floor or your body sitting in the chair. Then, start to widen your attention slightly. Notice something else in the room, something you can see or hear, or something you can feel like the temperature or a draft from a window. This only takes a few seconds, but it does something critical. It shifts you from a potentially reactive mode back into controlled thinking. Now we've used the presence anchor to create some control, we'll create some space to think and respond. Using our second tool, SAW. Stop, observe, analyse, respond. Instead of reacting instantly, stop, observe what's actually happening, analyse what matters, then respond deliberately. Here's an example. Instead of immediately thinking they're being difficult again, you shift to what exactly are they doing and why might that be happening? This one shift creates space, and space is where calm thinking lives. Using SOAR allows you to interpret the situation and respond from a calmer, more informed place. Granted, you haven't made any difference to the other person yet, but you have kept your composure, you've responded professionally, and you've set a great example to the rest of your team. Now we move to performance. Once you're calm and clear, your response should do 3 things. Maintain your professional standard, keep the interaction constructive, and move the situation forward. Here's a simple structure to help you do this. Clear, neutral, directed. Let's break it down. Clear. Say what needs to be said simply. I'd like to finish my point. Neutral. No edge, no emotional charge. This is critical because tone escalates the situation much more than words do. Directed. Guide the conversation forward. Then I'm happy to hear your view. This approach does something subtle but powerful. It maintains your professional standard and it doesn't create any unnecessary conflict. Okay, so now you've used the presence anchor to get calm, you've used SOAR to think clearly, and you've responded effectively. Most people would stop here, but the most effective professionals do something different. They reflect, and this is where real improvement happens. At this point, we can take a closer look at what's actually going on with our difficult colleague. You could assume that they are choosing to be difficult. They're directing it specifically at you, and so you choose to take it personally. But at times like this, I often find that it helps to reframe situations and look at things differently. So let's try that here. Most difficult behaviour is not intentional. It usually comes from one of 3 things: pressure, insecurity, or a different thinking style. For example, the person who interrupts you may be trying to make a good impression and trying to show you their knowledge or enthusiasm. The colleague who dismisses your ideas may be feeling insecure in the presence of a new manager and doing it to protect their status. The one who seems blunt may just be highly task-focused and keen to get started. If you misread the behaviour, you mismanage your response. In the video up to now, we've been labelling these people as difficult, but instead it's much more helpful to ask a better question. What's driving this behaviour? This shift moves your thinking from emotional reaction to strategic awareness, and as a new manager, that's a leadership level skill. As we said at the beginning of the video, dealing with a difficult colleague can be frustrating, annoying, or upsetting. Allowing someone's behaviour to influence you to such a degree that it affects your emotions and reactions is, in effect, handing them a degree of power. But by not taking it personally and reframing the difficult behaviour as their issue, you take the power back. That said, all this is still not easy. So this is where the final professional tools I'll talk about today come in. Dealing with a difficult colleague day in and day out, even when you have the tools you need to respond calmly and professionally, can take its toll. As a new manager, you might think that carrying this stress is just part of your new role and you need to tough it out and push on. Here is a really important lesson. Stress in itself is not the enemy, but continuous stress without recovery is. It can lead to emotional exhaustion and poor decisions, and that can have serious consequences for your mental and physical health. This is why the stress recovery cycle is so important. Whenever you have had a stressful period at work, in this case we've been talking about an encounter with a difficult colleague, it is vital that you make and take time to recover and reset. I'm not talking about a long vacation, although that would do the job. It can be short walks, eating lunch away from your desk, enjoying time with friends and family, or some deep breathing between meetings. If you check out the Inner Advantage channel, you'll find the final tool that I'll mention today, the Calming Reset. Over the next few weeks, I'll post a variety of calming resets specifically written for new and first-time managers. I hope that they'll be really useful in supporting you to get mentally prepared for your new role each morning and to recover and reset once your working day or working week is over. On the channel, I'll also post micro reset shorts that are useful moments to pause and breathe and tune into your body during the day. If you come across one that resonates with you, you could save it and have it ready to use just when you need it. When dealing with difficult colleagues, first, regulate yourself. Use the presence anchor to stabilize your state. Second, create thinking space. Use SOAR before you respond. Third, respond with structure. Be clear, neutral, and directed. And fourth, understand and don't take it personally. Look for what's driving the behaviour and take back your power. Finally, use the stress recovery cycle and calming resets to protect your well-being. Your future self will be glad you did. As you continue to move through your career, I'm afraid to say that difficult colleagues are not going away. But you don't have to let them disrupt your thinking or your performance. As a manager, you can direct people, but you can't control them. The professional advantage in dealing with difficult colleagues is being able to stay calm, think clearly, and respond effectively, no matter who you're dealing with. Using the tools that we have discussed today, that's a skill that you can develop. And when you develop it, you don't just handle difficult people better, you operate at a higher level consistently. That's the Inner Advantage. For more advice and practical techniques for handling difficult work situations, building your professional skills, and protecting your emotional well-being, consider subscribing to the channel.